Hello, it's June, and I wanted to tell you about the Mover magazine for this month, which I'm delighted to say is out now. It's interesting, before I tell you anything about what's in the magazine, interesting the viewing figures over the last, or readership figures rather, over the last couple of months, whilst everybody has been in lockdown have been quite interesting because normally you would expect that people would not be reading quite so much, but actually our figures have increased as I suspected they might. In fact, I think I probably said as much to you a month or so ago, where I figured that people spending more time at home would actually have time to reflect on what they were doing, and there would be reading a little bit more and so on. Interestingly, it's proved to be true. Our figures for April in terms of readership page views was something like, we're just over 40,000, which is the highest figure we've had for some time. 40,000 page views is a lot. And last month in May, they were down a little bit, about 7% down, which is neither here nor there really. But interestingly, the readership on the on the website rather than the app was up by about 10%, which I couldn't quite figure out why. But of course, if people are at home and they're working at their desktops at home rather than travelling around the countryside and sitting in airports and doing all this kind of thing and reading the magazine on the app, then you would expect those figures to be a little bit higher and the app to be a little bit down, which is exactly what it was. Only marginal figures, but interesting nevertheless. Still, if you add all the figures up, then it comes to something very close to 40,000 page views, even in May, which we're really pleased with here. So thank you for sticking with us and reading. This month in June, we've got, do you know, the last couple of weeks I've been phoning lots of people all over the world in the moving industry, and I'm astounded by the resolve that people in the industry have had to get through this whole thing, and they've been very innovative and very caring in the way that they've been dealing with their customers and their staff, and being very responsible. They've been doing exactly what they've been told to do by their governments, and they've been taking all the precautions that they should have done. So it's a great advert for the industry. And there was one chap that I spoke to recently in London who had taken this whole period of having if you like, a bit of time on his hands to look at the whole thing in a different way. His company is called Edward Miles, and it's in London. He's our cover story this month, and I think you'd be interested to have a read of it, just to see what he did with his time and how he used the sort of enforced lockdown to his benefit. Have a read. Something to learn there from for all of us, I think. Anyway, lots of other things in the magazine too. I'm not going to go into it all now. It's not all about COVID-19 either. We've even got a Brexit story. Oh, well, there you go. It's back. And it's talking about compliance after the Brexit has come into in force, in fact, which will be in January, and it's just sort of saying be a bit careful with compliance because there may be temptations to push the goalposts a bit, and be careful with that. There's also a really interesting story for any of you mariners out there, and I know there's quite a lot of sailors around that in the moving industry. Sail power has returned to cargo ships. But they're not the kind of sails that you and I know. These are totally different things. Have a look at the story. And there's even a little video there that explains how the whole thing works, which, as a sailor myself, I was fascinated by, and I'm sure you will be. Anyway, enjoy reading the magazine. I'm sure you will, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.